Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Animation Analysis. We took a break last time because we did not want to bother analyzing that somewhat of a mess of an episode.
Yeah, Macho Maid versus Kool-Aid, or Macho Man versus Kool-Aid Man was a bit of a oddly structured episode to say the least, and I don't think it would, and we didn't think it would properly fit the kind of thing that we do.
Yeah, at most we will say, like the claymation part, that part, the stop motion, that was done pretty well. It was like one of the classic Kool-Aid commercials. That was done pretty well. But aside from that, nothing stood out too much for us.
Yeah, it's pretty much just a very uneventful episode, not much to really comment on.
So this time, we're going to be diving into the next episode, which is probably one of the bigger matches with the Versus community, and probably just the anime community as a whole, DIO versus Alucard. Yeah, so without further ado, let's get into this. And before we do, reminder, we're looking at only the animation. The verdict and research do not play an input into this grading.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you're mad that we're not talking about why Alucard should have gotten that weird cat, then
then you come to the wrong place. With that said, let us begin with this. Okay, starting off, I want to point out that this sprite bit here is recycled from the Alucard vs. DIO DBX.
Yeah, and I just want to also say something regarding the animation.
Yeah?
It feels a bit jarring going from this really detailed 3D model of a car to just flat Alucard.
That's really funny, because, again, it's just pretty decent car model. Just flat Alucard. Though that was a pretty clean turn animation, I will say that.
Definitely.
Also, I kind of find it funny how that's how the car just gets shot once like that, and then it just blows up. I mean, like, if he shot the wheel, maybe. Though I'm gonna assume
the driver.
He either shot the driver or the engine, one or the other, yeah. And DIO comes out with a purple My Shiranui.
Of course, because death battle is for good boys and girls.
But yeah. And then we get to the first interaction of the fight. That's a pretty decent way to start the fight, honestly. I mean, like, again, there's no, like, real backstory for it, but then again, Death Battle hasn't been, like, never been too heavy on backstories for these sorts of things, you know?
Yeah. The main purpose of the animation is just get into the fight as soon as possible.
Yeah. That said, then, finally, we kick things off. Okay, and here's a small detail I don't know if many people will pick up, but when DIO uses the world to catch the bullet the first time, Alucard's sprite, when he puts down his guns, his glasses move down. Almost like he's studying his opponent.
I noticed that, but frankly this just kind of looks off given how his arms aren't properly attached. You can kind of see it as his elbow there.
To be fair, it's a very quick movement, so it's for a very quick scene, so you wouldn't see it too much. But yeah, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's another thing.
And then there's this. This feels really jarring.
Okay, first of all, look at the hilarious pose DIO is in. You know that, like, question, have you seen Justice League War?
No, I have not.
Funny, there's this hilarious scene of Darkseid running at all fours chasing the Flash. DIO looks exactly like that.
Oh my god.
Like, aside from that...
But yeah, this whole scene...
This part is probably
really
the least the worst. I say worst loosely. This is, because looking around, the background's 2D. It's not hyper 3D realistic like the rest of the fight or other fights this season. That and it's like an odder shade of blue compared to like other fight scenarios. That and Alucard's sprite switches, which kind of makes sense because this sprite sheet I believe doesn't have him with his hat. It's a bit of a jarring change because I personally do prefer the other Alucard sprites, but I'd imagine it would have been a pretty big pain to like edit off Alucard's hat for all of those sprites.
Yeah, I suppose so, but it's just really jarring and distracting for me to just go from detailed background to just bluer, flatter background, then back again.
Yeah. Anyways, continuing on. I really like that. Honestly, that was a very smooth movement from Dio. Just tearing him right in half, right into the repose. And then when Alucard lands,
it is really done smoothly.
Also, a smaller thing, when Alucard lands, or just like when he's torn apart, that extra sprite for his his internal organs, that's really well done, despite like how minimal it looks.
I really like to show the organs, don't they?
I mean, to be fair, this is Alucard we're talking about.
Yeah.
Unlike the past example of like extremely gory death, this is it's Alucard. It's his whole thing. Also, just Alucard being face down here is funny for some reason. Anyways, continuing on. Oh yeah, his teleport. I think teleport or turning into blur or fog or whatever. That's really good. Oh, and another small, really fine detail. When Dio pulls out his knives, look at what store he's in front of.
Knives zinc. Oh my god.
And when as soon as the time happens, the glass shatters, and he gets knives to throw at Alucard. It's a really small detail that you probably won't pick up the first time, but yeah.
It's really actually a good detail. I didn't even notice that.
And keep in mind, Dio doesn't change position, so this means he went in there, got the knives, broke the windows, then walked into the exact same spot and gone to the exact same pose to continue the fight.
I also do like how it shows the bullets already on the ground.
Yeah, because the world stopped them. Yeah.
Stop. Yeah.
Speaking of time stop, I'll get to a little something on that later on, but yeah. I really like this shot here, because it's a direct reference to how Jotaro himself was surrounded by knives.
It is. That is just a really cool shot.
And then all the knives, boom. I'm pretty sure that's the exact amount of knives that were in the sprite too. Just obviously a lot of them are out of frame because they're in Alucard's back, but you know. Oh, and now we get to one of the many good lines in this episode. I
love the delivery of Dio most of all. He starts confident, it's just like
it's like I'm going to do one of my most famous memes, but then he realizes that Alucard's a fake, and he's like, oh no. Yeah, it's the voice acting, again, we'll get to the voice acting later, but it's really good.
Yeah.
And also, this hand-drawn shot here.
It's really fucking good.
I believe it's a direct reference to when Jotaro shows up behind Dio in the series proper. But yeah, this is really cool. Also, Dio's. Again, I did say I didn't want to get into voice acting early, but Dio's screams of pain here are so fitting to how he sounds in the dub. Like, despite his deep voice and intimidating persona, when he gets hurt, he sounds like a bitch. Patrick Stice is a really good dub voice actor for Dio, and he does a good job at sounding intimidating. But whenever Dio gets hurt, Patrick does such a good job at sounding like he got kicked in the stomach or something. It's great.
That's quite a description.
And another time stop here. I really love the time stop effect, how they make everything the opposite color, like it is when Dio activates it in canon for like just a split second, since we can't see the time stop. And of course, we can't be a Dio fight without this. The Road Roller. I just love Alucard. He just, Dio just disappears. Then he looks up into the sky with the confused, huh?
I never expected to see this.
But yeah. Also, interesting. Like, I'm gonna compare this to like the Road Roller and Dio versus Sakuya. That one felt a bit more impactful, but this was a bit animated, a bit smoother. But this one here, the resulting impact is a lot bigger and more devastating. Like I really like how they made the Road Roller look destroyed and everything.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, because they have like the chunks of rock in the ground and the fires and smoke. It's really well done. Going on. Also, the effects here, like when Alucard speaks, those look so good. Like, look at that.
That is really fucking good looking.
Oh, and one of my favorite details in the fight. Dio summons his world, and look at the world's face.
I kind of don't like that. And it boils down to Dio himself here.
Yeah?
Because I've already made it clear my stance on, like, this.
Yeah, Dio doesn't look... This looks kinda jarring for Dio. The world, on the other hand...
It looks bad.
World looks fine, though.
It's better.
He just... I just love his expression. He's like, oh. This is not... This is gonna suck.
I don't think I can handle this one.
And then just he's like... It's like, oh. It's just like, oh. Blood wave. And like... The blood wave there.
Good.
Yeah, like, it looks like actual liquid. Like, that is amazing.
Liquid.
Anyways. But yeah. And Dio here changes his sprite to reflect his powered-up form after he absorbs Joseph's blood. That's a nice detail, because I believe in canon, while he said he preferred taking Joseph's blood because it would help him a lot more, I believe he could have still gone to this form just by absorbing enough blood in general. It also kind of gives like the feeling that the fight's reached another point because, you know, Dio's lost his coat. The whole thing as the fight goes on, there's clothing damage and stuff.
Alrighty.
Oh, and the ghouls.
I really love this section.
Yeah, Dio and the world tag teaming against the ghouls of Alucard's souls. It's since it's the same sprites, it reminds me of when Leon and Frank teamed up against the zombies in their fight.
Yeah, except these ones are a lot faster.
Yeah,
at least have a lot more movement to them.
Yeah,
which I honestly like.
There's a small detail I really like here. How both of them are taking out the ghouls, but when the two bite off the Dio here, the world takes care of one while Dio takes care of the other. I really like that because it's a sense you could argue it's like a team thing, but then again, the world is just an extension of Dio. It's a really neat little thing here. And then another great line exchange. I love that so much. And they did what I hoped. They portrayed Alucard as canon and only added one line from Hellsing Ultimate Abridged. And it's fitting because it's one of the first lines he says in the entire series. And also, the hand-drawn for his Dracula form looks great.
It feels a little odd to me. I don't know why. I can't.
To be fair, it's not. While it looks good, it's not supposed to look like amazing since Alucard does have like, despite like how he looks.
So much detail.
Yeah. And also just he just holds up his hand and uses telekinesis. And just the impact of this hit of Dio getting knocked into the clock tower.
Hold on. It's
Boom.
more impactful than.
Yeah, it's you started saying it. You say this one.
It is far more impactful than the entirety of Hulk versus Broly.
It is true
I
though.
will keep going back to that. I don't care.
It is true. But then we go on. Another thing, people complained that a couple of people said that it kind of odd Alucard went back to the original appearance, but there is a small detail that shows he did transform back. Like, right after the explosion here, you can see he's in his, it's mostly covered, but he's in his Dracula sprite, and then he just fades back to his more familiar appearance. It's a really small detail. Another thing, Dio doesn't just jump up. He actually uses the world to get him up there. He uses the kinetic energy transfer. And then he uses his vampire ability to actually stick to the wall. It's a nice combination of the two.
I didn't know he went to ninja school and learned to use his chakra.
I mean, to be fair, JoJo's whole thing is, it's a shonen anime, but spirit power, I mean. What's going on? Also, that's another really smooth bit. I love Dio dodging the bullets. Like, that is smooth. And there's also like impact. There's also impact detail too. Like when the bullets hit the clock tower, they give like more dusty effects when they hit the tower. But when they hit the clock itself, there's glass shattering effects.
Yeah, that's actually a really good detail.
Yeah. And then we continue with the level 0 ghouls. It's really well done. And then, this is when shit gets a little crazy. Right out of JoJo. Ripping off the clock hand to fight. And Alucard meeting him with his own telekinesis. I love this so much.
It is cool, but it looks off to me.
I understand. It does kind of look off. Because, like, I honestly compare it to, like, remember when, back in Batman vs. Iron Man, when Batman used the Watchtower?
Yeah.
It's sort of like that, but the thing is, in that case, the sprites were so small from that shot that it was hard to see. So it kind of looks a little janky here, but honestly, I'm fine with it. Like here, it's like, you know what's the best way to describe it? It's like Dio grabbed a PNG.
Yeah, that's...
It's kind of funny that way. I'm personally fine with it, but I do love how Alucard meets it with his own. And Dio impales Alucard with one of the clock hands. And he just gets it perfectly fine. Oh. That's brutal. I think what happened here is that Alucard was about to shoot, but then Dio like tries to bite and like break the guns. That doesn't work, and then Alucard just shoots out the back of his throat constantly. That's really brutal and badass. Like even as it does the panning shot like away, you can see the explosion effects. Like look, you can see those small sparks there showing Alucard still firing. And then we get to, again, Dio being pushed to the limit, starts using his Part 1 abilities, which I really love that he did. He used freezing, which is one of his, to like stop Alucard from getting up, like continuing his assault, and he just shatters his arms, only for Alucard to like grow them, and that is a terrifying shot.
That is, oh my god. It's like one of the few times I'm fine with the smaller pixels for the expression because it just makes it look a lot more unsettling.
Considering like how Alucard's torn up face has been shown multiple times throughout the Hellsing anime, it's fitting. And all of his like devoured spirits behind him makes it even cooler. Going on. Okay, that delivery there is amazing.
It is, and I like how this is, I think, the first time we actually see
that's what I was gonna bring up.
Stop.
The whole time, we did not see the time stop until now. And then everything freezes, and we see what Dio does in the time stop now. First, he damages Alucard and uses it to push himself back, and then he uses the Ripper Eyes. I forgot the full name, but it's still a stupid name. Anyways, he uses the Ripper Eyes to tear through the ocean of blood and the rest of Alucard's souls. Yeah, and if you notice here, it's hard to see the first time, but that's Alucard's heart, and then he just regens. Still, and then, leading into the climax, Dio punches the ground, and the world launches him upwards. And we get to, of course, the final confrontation. That is a really badass, this is like, yeah, that is so good. The delivery on Dio's line, and Alucard's, of him being like, basically his voice getting even louder, while Alucard still remains perfectly calm, it's an amazing contrast.
Oh yeah, that really is.
Shows just how different the two are, and of course, and the two have like different close-up styles. Like Dio's is the sprite based, and I believe it's edited off of like some of his existing face sprites from one of the JoJo games. While Alucard's is a lot more traditionally hand-drawn, as you can see here. It's simple, but it works.
Still clearly sprites, though altered with a lot more hand-drawn.
Yeah. And then, to the finishing blow. And we get a rep, of course, in a callback to how Alucard pulled this at the beginning of their fight, Dio returns the favor with one of his most famous poses.
And also, other people brought this up for the finisher.
Yeah?
But, like,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
A little bit longer.
I think I know what you're probably gonna say, but yeah. And then, first, I love how he starts off with the actual translation before going back to the actual Battlecry version. First.
You know what they say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words carry a lot of weight.
Yeah, like, go on, say what, I'll say. Yeah, I'll go on to explain what I love about this, but go on, you explain what you were gonna say.
What I wanted to say was, other people in servers we're in have also said this, but the way Alucard dies by being just beaten to death by Dio's stand, Dio yells useless. Alucard doesn't know about the stand.
Yeah, he can't see it.
So, from his perspective, he's just being beaten to death by Dio being yelling useless over and over and over.
Yeah, it's a kind of hilarious when you think about it.
I think it's honestly really fucking cool.
Yeah, and just Dio, continuing on, like the finisher too. Like we actually get unlike in Jotaro vs Kentro, where the stand rush we got was honestly just at the beginning, and it was just like against Kentro. Unfortunately, despite how cool it was, it didn't really have as much impact. But Dio's here. I love the transition from the stand rush to the finishing read. That is really, really good. And another thing is, like, you know what, I'm gonna bring it up myself. This it had more impact than Hulk versus Broly. What's interesting though is that if I'm listening carefully, I think the hit sound effects are the same, but they're a lot more fitting because despite how strong the world is, his stand isn't on par with Hulk or Broly in terms of power, so it works a lot better here. Plus, it actually sounds.
I think these hits are a bit more meaty, just a little bit more, I guess, squishy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can hear, like, when Dio hits Alucard with a stand rush, you can hear the sounds of bones. It sounds a lot like he's hitting bone, and that works really well. But yes, that's a fight. It's just, I personally absolutely love this fight. There's just, there are some things I have that are like small minor complaints. Aside from that, it doesn't weigh down the episode as much. What about you?
I do like the episode, though I still much prefer Goku Live vs. Reverse Flash over it.
That's
Not to say this is bad. No, I do really like this episode. It's just there's some things holding it back for me personally.
Yeah, I personally rank Dio vs. Alucard higher. It's a very close ranking. Like Goku vs. Reverse Flash, I'd say is a lot better in like how it's animated and showcasing how strong they are. But Dio vs. Alucard, I think, it does a lot better at showing how their abilities clash as well as the atmosphere and storytelling.
And this is entirely personal, but I feel like Goku Black vs. Reverse Flash has the better voice acting.
Yeah, like, I personally did love the voice acting. Like, what was your opinion? Like, before we do, like, what was your opinion on Tom Skulk as Dio, considering his last death battle act was a Kool-Aid Man?
I thought he did Dio really well, actually.
Yeah, I honestly, I might say this. I think it's actually on par with Patrick Sykes, honestly. It's as absurd as to say. Because he gets a lot of, like, this, if, like, Dio's voice was replaced, I'd be fine with, like, Tom Scott taking over. Because it's not as deep as Patrick Sykes' performance. It's distinct enough, and it works perfectly well for Dio.
I haven't heard much of Patrick Sykes' voice for Dio, but if it's anything like his other roles, then I'm pretty sure he does a good job.
Yeah, and as for Alucard now, personally, again, I did like it because it showed Taka could play a serious Alucard, but as for you...
I'm not a fan. I'm sorry.
Like, feel like explaining why?
The reason why is because I haven't seen Hellsing Abridged, but I have seen Dragon Ball Z Abridged. And whenever I hear Alucard talk, I just hear Cell. And at the same time, I don't think the delivery of some of his lines are really that good.
I'm gonna be honest, like...
He does have...
Yeah, I will say that, like, I could go back to them, but, like, a couple of the lines, I will say, like, compared to how he sounds in Hellsing Ultimate Abridged, they weren't delivered as well. Like, the final line, yeah, but and his first line about the dinner line, those were delivered pretty well. But the dog food line and Real Fucking Vampire weren't as well done compared to some of his other performances.
Yeah, just every time he did speak up, it just felt really off to me. And again, this is entirely a personal thing. I do like how after he gets hit with the Road Roller, I do love the delivery of that with the added effects.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Like, major props to Taka. But everything else, I'm just not super big on.
With that said, I guess with that said, this episode, honestly, just overall, like, personally, I loved it. His says overall is pretty decent. What would you personally rank it overall? Like, out of 10?
Even with its faults, I would genuinely give it like a 9.
Like, personally, again, I've wanted this match for a while as well. I'd personally give it a 10 out of 10, so I guess we'd probably meet in the middle and give it a 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5 seems reasonable.
Yeah, like, overall, again, this is a really well done episode. I love a lot of things about it. Like, even the flaws, they're mostly minimal.
Yeah, they're mainly minimal, and in my case, just personal. With
that said, again, as we said in the episode, We're giving it a 9.5 out of 10. Solid episode. So with that, I suppose you'll join us next week for... not next week, next 2 weeks, but I'm still not looking forward to that one.
Neither am I. Come back next time when we cover Akuma versus Shao Kahn.
Should have been fucking Ralph anyways. But anyways, thanks for watching. And again, as we said, see you all next time. Bye.
See ya.